Get started, or we're waiting for anybody else?
I think I was waiting for Ken, but we can start, but I will tell Ken to get on here.
Yeah, we are recording the meeting too, so in case we need to refer back to things and so on. Okay. With that, Cash, would you like to get started?
Sure. So welcome everyone, Cadastral introduction here, and we have the agenda set out. First to overview the current parcel fabric data, maybe go over some differences from the LGIM. I know that we really don't want to focus on the LGIM too much. Go through some workflows, review the historic parcels, current configuration, the way it's set up, and the overview of the updated MXD, discuss annotations, and also discuss the plan management strategy, which we can start there and work our way down. So first off, the MXD, I don't know, Haritha, I think the first thing would probably be to discuss the your plan strategy as far as your editing. We noticed that when you start editing and the way that the data is set up, when you manage your plans, there is the default plan from the city, right? We'll just open an existing parcel. And so the city has its own plan. It's like a default, city of Riverside. But then you also have your other plans. So right. We assume you're going to be managing it on a plan for plan basis, and city of Riverside is just a default set in place.
Okay.
For editing purposes. So we noticed that the majority of the data, they all have plans, but there are a lot of parcels that are still in the city of Riverside's default plan. So how do you guys want to move forward with the plans?
Well, some plan names have the map booking page, and that relates to the track maps as they were, the map booking page where they were recorded. So that's just the metadata that goes in there. Some line work that you see them, they'll just say City of Riverside. That metadata, I'm not sure how that didn't have a background with it when it was converted on the original from hard books to digital to CADME. So okay. if there was nothing tagged, they just probably said, okay, City of Riverside, system, that's it. Now, if it's new, or if there was some sort of record that we can create, they added the map book and page. I'm thinking that some of the ones that say City of Riverside, those were parcels that were created by deed, where there was no record for it, whether it was done legally or illegally, most likely illegally.
Okay, I see. So that makes sense for the City of Riverside's default plan. And, hey, Ken. So we were just talking about the plan management, how the plans are managed, which the majority of the parcels have a plan associated with them, but then we noticed the default has a ton of parcels in the City of Riverside default plan as well. So we just want to make sure that when we're editing, if we have a survey, or something that we populate it with a new plan. I just wanted to think about that, yeah.
So is it correct to assume that going forward, you will always have a plan to refer to, or there may be situations that you will not know the plan and you'll still have to use the City of Riverside?
No, moving forward, there will always be a plan.
Okay.
Anything
Just
newly
want to make
created
sure.
will either be from a lot line adjustment, a lot merger, or a map.
If something comes up that, let's say, where two individuals did something illegally and they split a property illegally by meets and bounds, and that's illegal per the Subdivision Map Act, and that gets recorded, and all of a sudden we have to do something about it, then we'll get some sort of City of Riverside default, let's say, but we would say on it that it was illegal or something. But that's the only time that that happens, and that's rare. That's very rare at this point.
Okay, so I'm saying moving forward, there will always be a plan, but there could be exceptions. And we're making these notes because when we write in the document, you know, that we just want to make sure that, you know, sometimes people get started with the City of Riverside default and then change it or something like that. So just want to make sure that we have this clearly identified that there are exceptions that could happen, and that's the only time where City of Riverside will be used.
Correct.
Okay.
Excellent.
Cash,
Okay.
did that
Adding,
answer
taking
your
something
questions,
from a
right?
default that says City of Riverside to some kind of certificate of compliance for that lot is not going to be difficult, right? That's just adding some kind of historical data to the existing lot, correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Because
So
if we run into a parcel like that, and then somebody wants to do something with that parcel, they're either going to have to subdivide it, which is going to be a legal division that we are going to have record from, or they're not going to subdivide it. And we will want to put some kind of note in there that says that this is not a legal lot as we come to find out.
exactly, absolutely.
Is
And
there
what
any-
was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there any sort of document that would be associated with that, you know, to represent that, your acknowledgement of it? I mean,
We got a
it's not a formal
determination of
deed.
compliance or a certificate, conditional certificate of compliance.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I was thinking that there has to be some sort of certificate that perhaps that there can be a reference to that particular document, you know, to document the action that it's already taken place here.
Yeah, and we've got a parcel like that out off of Douchy that the guy wants to do something with, and we're in the process, but we're not forcing him to do anything right now. But we do want to make sure that historically somebody comes along, clicks on that, and says that we look into it and we know it was illegally created.
So when you say documents, does that relate to the document linking with Laserfish? Is that the same thing?
I don't think we do anything with our determination of compliances, but that we probably should.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at too. Is I think we should.
Yeah, because we spend the time to do the determination of compliance, and whether it's compliant or non-compliant, we should be able we should link that document.
Yeah, indeed.
I agree with Ken.
So the document is called Determination of Compliance.
Yeah, and there's the determination of compliance is we take a look and see if it was created legally or illegally, and if it was legally, then the guy and gal can move forward with whatever they want to do. If it was illegal, then we do what's called a conditional certificate of compliance. And just the City of Riverside's not super heavy-handed on forcing the conditional certificate of compliance at this time. Because again, get a
Okay. But this is more like a future workflow for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's about the plans. So, Cash, can you go back to the PowerPoint, please? And we'll look at the next slide.
Sure.
Okay. So everybody knows at this point that the LGM model is not enabled on your parcel fabric, right? The parcel fabric is there, but it's not enabled with LGIM. When you enable with LGIM, it adds a lot of other feature classes which are related to like the PLSS datasets, which you did not want it. And so we end up seeing, you know, just a unique data set that's for your city's purpose. And for that reason, we're not able to take advantage of the automated workflows. Cash, can you show us those workflows that are available?
Sure. So those you may be familiar already, but in the LGIM, it would be the parcel workflows. And these are just automated workflows and steps. I say automated. They're automated. It's like a hybrid automation, right? So you would still have manual processes involved in these workflows, but they sort of guide you along the process of updating these different types of workflows, completing them rather. So they do save time, but a lot of the time in these workflows, one downside of the LGIM, and I can understand part of why you may not want to go with that, completely understandable, is you might get 3/4 into one of these workflows, and if you miss one step or you miss one entry or thing, you have to start all over. So it can either save you time and work with you, or it can end up causing more havoc and work against you. So I see completely why a lot of people and groups do not want to, users rather, don't want to use these automated workflows that are built into the LGIM. Now, they are helpful, but they do have to, they depend on the schema from the LGIM, right? So that's the whole difference in these workflows. But we can still accomplish all of these workflows outside of the local government information model. And a lot of people do that, so.
Right.
Yeah,
We decided not to go with that information model because most of 99.9% of the city of Riverside has been subdivided and is not starting from a sectionalized land. So
sure, and that's
already,
understandable.
we're already into the subdivision of the subdivision of the subdivision of the subdivision down to almost all. Everything's been built out, or is it at a specific size that it can't be more built? So being able to see the workflows for merge parcels or parcel split or parcel split. What's the difference between like a parcel split and a subdivision? What would be?
So a parcel split would just be like a set, you want to split it, in half or a portion of a parcel, very, very vague.
Are you asking the difference between the parcel workflows that you see here and without using those workflows? Is that the question?
The question basically is that everything is a subdivision. So a parcel split is only taking one lot and making it into two. A subdivision is taking one lot and making it into three or more, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do your parcel splits. All of these are easily accomplished without the automated workflows, in other words.
Right. Yeah, and that's in the process we were in, looking at this workflows versus the other workflow. And I think Cash, you can confirm how different it is in using this versus the other workflow. We didn't really find that much of difference. Maybe I think there's like 2 commands to be run or 2 steps instead of 1. I think that's the only difference, but we'll describe more. So can you go back to the PowerPoint?
Yes, let's go back.
Okay, so we have established that we cannot use the workflows built into the parcel fabric editor. And we looked at the manual workflows, and like we were saying, we'll need like 2 steps to do the same thing. And I don't know, Cash, if you have the LGIM based one, the one where you enabled LGIM or not, but can you show us like maybe a parcel merge or parcel split, an example?
So it's the LGIM version is not on right now, but we can go to like a parcel merge in your current data model. Is that okay, Aretha? In the current?
Yeah, it's okay. We just want to see how easy or difficult. That's what we're trying to gauge, and we found that it's relatively simple as compared to
So
it isn't that those workflows are saving you a ton of time or something.
Exactly. So we'll just start editing with the parcel editor, and then you'll select your two parcels. Two parcels, rather. And then you'll go to merge. And this is where you choose, you know, give it a parcel name, whatever the plan or the parcel number rather.
That would probably be like a LL-P20 1000.
Okay. And you can just inherit the attributes of either, you know, either of these. You can delete the parent parcels if you'd like, but the way that your data structure is set up, it automatically archives them as historical.
What does the new APN number what is the new APN number created when that's merged going to be?
So that is another topic that we want to discuss as well. So that would have to be manually entered.
Because that numbers, both those numbers go away, right?
Well,
yes,
actually,
so
that's the way the County of Riverside does it.
Correct, but we are trying to establish or find out because I know that you've been using 999 for the not established one, or it was a -9, I think, in the past.
-9, yeah.
so it inherits the APN that you choose when you merge the two parcels. So this is another manual process that comes into play to update in the attributes, as well as your parcel type.
And with this
right now,
new system, it's going to be easier to search for our, whatever we decide to call it, whether we stick with -9s, because it takes the County of Riverside somewhere between 6 months and a year and a half to get the new parcel number published.
I see. So that's a great point.
That really comes down to, generally speaking, after they close the roll, they spend about 2 months just doing like legals and other things. They don't get really right into editing. So at the minimum, it's about 2 months to start generating APNs. But it can be upwards. Once it builds up, you know, you might have 300 versions that are waiting to be QC because the QC guy's off doing his own thing. And that happens too. And then that's when you can go longer than 2 months. But 2 months is like we should be able to get, once we get under the new geodatabase, we should be able to find a way with the county to get APNs faster than we're currently getting them.
And that's because right now it's kind of a tedious process because we have to go look on the county's website and start pulling book and pages that we know have been updated. So it's a manual process. So if we can get that delivered to us, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll have. Once we move forward by December, we'll probably have to sit down with them and find out what's the best way forward and see if they'll be helpful, you know.
Cash, I just have a question for you. So what will be the tentative number, let's say, that you guys suggest that we use?
You know, we discussed that, and 999 is not a bad idea. Something very unique that everybody would remember, and that would be easy to enter. Perhaps, you know, we could set up a task or something to input that number when those are created, these merge, when the merge is created.
Yeah. So, for example, I think we already had a discussion, and if you go back to the PowerPoint, we'll show you which item we were discussing on. We had this discussion, I think, during the requirement stage itself. So, can you look at that? Go ahead.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to keep the first 3 digits and the middle 3 digits, because the book and the page are going to most likely stay the same, and the last 3 digits are the ones that are going to change, correct?
Yep. Yes.
So being able to search for parcels with the last 3 digits being -999 would probably be a good way to go, because then we could associate it with a book and page also, as opposed to a -9, which you have to find the -9 and then look at the parcel next to it to get the book and page.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Can we open up the? I think I'll start updating the DevOps item that's related to this. So you want to retain the first 5
six.
First
Okay.
6 numbers.
County Riverside's a 3-digit book page and then parcel number.
Yeah, and then they never got to zero. You never got to zero. The first value was never really counted. It's actually book, parcel. It's like book, a page, and then there's a block number, and then there's the parcel number. But you never got to the point where you actually had 999 for a parcel, because that would make a PDF or a printed report. The map books would be just huge. So they never ever got to the point where you were counting that third value.
I see. Okay. So
last 3 digits can be left to 999, but leave the remaining, right?
Will the system allow the same APN number of like a 123456999 from?
yes.
Okay.
How many? So
Let's
you think
say
that
on
maybe
this
you've
page
done,
right here, let's say this guy did his lot merger and the guy right behind him decided to do the same thing, and then both those would be getting new numbers at the same time. So we'd be waiting for that roll to be updated. And so this would be 123456999, and this would be 123456999. So they'd be on the.
They would be duplicate IDs. Yep. They would be.
Right, we have to see if there's any database constraints set on that, because especially, okay, this would be maybe a question for Ted. Do you know of any database constraints set on that field, Ted?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so
I mean, it still comes back to, I get it, do the duplicate values, but it's, I mean, it's just historical, right? So it doesn't really matter. You're really going to approach it. You're only going to really refer to
the duplicates are not going to be historical. The duplicates are going to be the newly created today.
correct. Yeah.
Same thing when we put in a subdivision. So let's say we have a big old lot and we put in 30 new lots in there. Each one of those is going to have an APN of something.
Oh, you want to go 999 so that when we get the new values from the county, you can go and find the 999s and then update it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I go to, so we can print up a list of all the 999s that are, and then I can go to the county assessors and say, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 page.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 page.
Yep.
So
I get that. Okay. I understand.
that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so the last 3 digits 999 for the new parcels that you don't have the APNs yet, and most likely you won't have them like 2 months down the road. It could be new subdivision, it could be parcel split, it could be parcel merge, any of those conditions, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint for a second and then look at what's next on our list. The next, we were on slide slide 4, right? So slide 4, we looked at, okay, we were going through all of these workflows, and actually the example you sent to us, Cash has actually georeferenced that and kept it ready in case we want to look at some of these workflows there. So let's go and take a look at that, Cash.
Sure.
Are you editing a file database, or are you in a version right now?
Currently, I'm just in a file geo database, just for speed and flexibility for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is on our own machine here. It's not yet. I mean, we do have the MXD copy to City of Riverside environment, which will show you after we're done with this PowerPoint. Yeah. Okay.
So here is the survey plot, the survey.
Yep.
And so yeah, so I overlaid that with the control points, and then if you want to do, let's say we wanted to add this. First off, I need to unjoin this from the actual fabric. First off, let me open attributes.
You're never going to just take a scanned document, digitize off the scanned document, import them in. Are you just trying to emulate like a spatial adjustment type of work? You're trying to demonstrate how challenging it can be to unjoin and join, or?
No, I'm just I was just showing, for example, to enter this new area from a survey, so to say. Just kind of the workflow.
Non-digital submission, basically.
No. So the georeferences.
Okay, so sorry, Cash, to interrupt, but Ted, that brings a good point. We asked for sample data and we got this one, so we're expecting that this is the kind of data you're getting as far as your input data sources are concerned. So you do expect CAD drawings then, as far as
Well, yeah. So I would
Yes,
hope
we
that
are.
in time we will be able to have formal policies to where we have everything that's digitally submitted. But that's, I don't know if we don't currently have that completely, right?
We
No.
get DXFs
Oh, we do
of,
get DXF.
of subdivisions. Yeah.
Yeah, we request them, but we also get the actual copy, the official copy of the map.
Okay,
So-
we get DXF, so we can bring the DXFs in into it, and then they can do it. You could probably, what you should probably do is find a DXF, send it to DCSC so they can talk you through the process of bringing a DXF in.
Yeah, we can also work with that as well. We can import an XML and take all the CAD data. So like, let's say you have a new subdivision with 100 lots and it's just going to be a lot of heavy duty editing. So instead we can just import the XML, take your CAD data and just import it all at one time. And it's just so much faster.
Yeah. Because right now the workflow is we establish the center line over there and we put in the center line of this subdivision that you're going to put in here in a second, and then we rebuild all the lots. So
Exactly.
it's a several days worth of drafting.
So let me kind of like establish this correctly, in the sense that we were thinking you were going to go and do the data entry as, I mean, you're going to enter the meets and bounds, the distances, bearings, and all those. From this plan, we didn't find a table. Like sometimes they do have a table of the meets and bounds. So in this specific example, we didn't find that. But you are going to be entering that from your known reference point in order to be able to subdivide this parcel. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
so what we would probably do is along this frontage here, because it's not going to be exactly the same as what's on that map, is we'd establish the intersection of where the center line is going to be, and then we'd meets and bounds that center line in all the way around the subdivision and bring it back in. And then we'd start individually building the lots.
Sure. Okay. So that's actually a very similar workflow. Establishing your point of beginning, whether it's the center line of the road, and then running, adding your directions and distances, and finishing your plot, and then joining that to the fabric, and then updating the attributes on that new boundary, that new
Correct.
parcel, whatever it may be, right?
Yes.
Like we were talking about earlier, almost all the cases in the city of Riverside, we're not floating off into space. We're usually bound on all sides, or on at least 3 sides of our property. So we have to, let's say they measured it at 332.01 on the backside, and this line here in our GIS system is 332.5. So we're going to have to make some kind of adjustment there.
Yeah, there is always the adjustment that's going to have to happen. There will be differences between your field measurements and your GIS.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
Go
so
ahead, Cash.
I'm sorry?
I said, go ahead, Cash.
Oh, yeah. So here we want to do new parcel, and then the new plan, we could just create the new plan. We call this,
Track 1, 2, 3, 4.
I like it. Track 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Right? Any kind of metadata or description you want to add, obviously this will be MB, you know, just the current format you've been using. All the defaults are usually always set on quadrant bearing. We have it set to quadrant bearing, degrees, minutes, seconds, survey feet, acres. Radius and chord length, chord, you can always drop it down and change that to tangent or radial. Chords are sort of, you know, sometimes just trickier than others. So the radius and arcs, also you could, you know, put it however you know, set your own custom, you know, bearings here.
Okay.
Attributes, I leave these all unchecked. Bearing corrections, I leave those unchecked for most. Now here you can, you know, add more information. Obviously the name will update until you apply and save, right? So survey date, here's most of your attributes that you can edit in the table before you even start your plan. That way you don't have to come back and do it later, which is helpful. So you just click OK. And then we want to set that as the active plan. So now that's the active plan. And then as a starting point, I like to choose an existing parcel fabric point, but one that's being referenced in the survey. So in this instance, I went and I chose this point because it's a street center line. And then,
do you have the ties? Sorry to interrupt, but do you have the ties layer, right?
We do have a ties layer, yes.
Okay, is that in the cadastral reference or cadastral dataset?
Ted, what do you think? Because
I take a look at Cadastral.
Okay.
But this is a workflow that we're going to have to talk about. But so we have a guy that maintains the ties, and I'm wondering if right now he's part of the city edit arena, but to me it seems like he should be probably kind of part of Cadastral. When you guys do training at Cadastral, I'm thinking he should come in, and you guys should train him as part of the Cadastral training, even though it's kind of a sub workflow within Cadastral.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's kind of really what I was pushing for on all this.
Okay, so for all practical purposes, there may be a tie point if we turned it on, but Cash, continue. Let's assume there's a tie point in there.
Yeah, sure. So you can, instead of going over to the bearing and distance in the table to the left, I find it easier just to right click here, as you would also, being that you guys do this every day.
Yeah.
And this is where you can enter, you know, the bearings there. You know, the 89, 43, 30 right here. So I'm just going to give an example. I'm going to go ahead and go through 89, 43, 30, and then I'm going to enter the quadrant 3. I'm going to go over here to U.S. survey feet. I think we have 44 feet.
1, 2, 3, 4, and that starts with the southwest is 1, correct?
Southeast corner. Yeah, 3 is the southwest, correct? Yes, southwest quadrant.
Right. So we're using geometry. One question, Cash, before you go further. Are you going to set your basis of bearing for this map that you're inputting? Because the city is set on state plane coordinates, and every map that's submitted, it's on its own basis of bearing, which is local coordinates. Okay. So let's say this bearing that you're showing it works for this specific map, but it doesn't necessarily match the basis of bearings that are for the entire city, because that's state plane. So we have to translate rotate. So let's say if we input all the bearings and distances that are shown on the record, then afterwards we have to come back and translate rotate it to the actual. Does that make sense to you?
That does make sense. So the survey, are you saying the survey is not in the same coordinate system as your basis of bearing?
Correct.
That's a good question. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for that. So this data is in the state plane California FIPS 406 or 406, right? That's a very good question. So the basis of bearing, you can set the true coordinates, the absolute XY, right there in the coordinate system that's in the parcel fabric. So the parcel fabric is set to your preferred coordinate system here. So when we set that absolute XY, it will adjust the boundary when you're done plotting this. Is that what you're referring to? Because it's
Yeah,
different.
so you can basically see on this map that the basis of bearing is the center line of Streeter Avenue, and Streeter's is basically a straight, Streeter's a straight shot all the way up to Central Avenue. So everything for this map is associated with a couple points on Streeter Avenue.
Yes.
Let
As
me
long
just
as
quickly
long as
ask.
we can associate whatever we're drafting to the center line of Streeter Avenue. Streeter Avenue as it exists in our GIS and as it exists in their map.
Correct. Yes, and that's another reason why I wanted to start there at the Streeter Avenue center line. And you can tag that as the absolute XY, and it's locking that into your local coordinate system, your native coordinate system there, before you begin your bearing and distance, right?
Yeah. And
How
does it get the second? So your absolute XY starts right there at Sierra and Streeter, and how do you get your second point to get it?
So when you get to the next point, you absolute XY on every one is what I do.
Okay.
That will involve some calculations, and I don't know how you did it in CADME in this case. Did you have a specific, method in which you did it in CADME then?
Yes. So what we ended up doing was that right before, at this point, that's why I stopped cache, because right before we started, say, traversing around the whole boundary or along the center line, let's say, we would literally say, okay, the westerly right-of-way line of Streeter is now north 0 degrees, 20 minutes or 0 seconds. So it would actually, and it would make every other coordinate that we entered, or any line that we entered, relative to that basis of bearing.
Relative to the difference between the north 0, 20, 0, and whatever the line was drafted in CADME.
In CADME, right.
Whatever that angular deflection was. So if it was 0, 19, 0, and the map was 0, 20, 0, it would change every single bearing that we put in by 1 minute. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes sense.
So it would do the math. It would do the math for us.
So
Yeah,
CADME,
that's why. Right, and that's why that would be the first thing we did. The first thing you do is you establish your basis of bearing so that we're talking apples to apples, and then you would start traversing, because now your world is rotated to that basis of bearing, essentially.
Okay. So with that being said, I can come up with a workflow for that basis of bearing. This does auto calculate as you go, but no, I know exactly what you're saying, and yeah, I will work with you on that so we can establish that basis of bearing and sort of replicate the workflow from CADME over to the parcel fabric.
We're not against trying to learn a new way of doing things. Somebody's probably already thought of this. We just want to know and make sure that we're like Eswin's saying, that we're getting apples to apples. So when we start drafting and then we get to the end, that we don't have to rotate everything to get it to fit. So it's getting in its place, and it's going to be there with the right, with correct bearings to each other.
And without you calculating,
Every
in a
single time
spreadsheet or in your mind. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To be able to put the same values that's there, but still, okay. Yeah, we will look into that, and we will let you know how the process goes for the basis of bearing.
Okay, so go ahead then, Cash. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that was great. I'm glad you did. That was a great topic. So, absolute XY. And then next, we're going to go to the next call, which would be 0-20-0-1. And this one's going to be 332. It looks like 0.39. 0.390. Okay. That brought us here. absolute XY. Then continue. Maybe the next one's 89, 41, 25. The quadrant is 3. And this one's going to be 628.610. All right, that's good. And then we're going to absolute XY this. Bearing distance again, which will be 0, -49, -10, -3 again for the quadrant for southwest. Jump over.
Is that a 4 or a 19?
What's that?
That west line, I think, is 19. 0019.
Oh,
Yeah, that's 19. The angle.
Okay.
Yeah, the bearing.
bearing distance.
Oh,
It's I think it's 19 instead of 49.
oh, thank you. 0, 19, 10, yeah, 3, and that's northeast. So let's go with this is 332.01, 332.01.
We don't mean that this is like your training session or anything. We just wanted to like show you what's available without the.
Yeah, this is
perfect.
because we've never done anything like this before. So
You guys are
understanding
like, this is
understanding the
perfect.
quadrants, we've drafted in all different kind of CAD platforms, but understanding Esri's platform is going to be new to us. But we understand the quadrant system, and we understand bearings and distances, and having the ability to use different arcs methods. This is good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason why I said this is because I want to see what the error of closure is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be, we'll pull that up as well. So you'll notice down here, the error of closure is going to be, so we can switch that right here, and that, you'll notice the 11. I don't know if you can see the mouse.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to change your starting point from center line to a right-of-way check.
Yeah, we just changed that to the, yeah, exactly, to 2. And then that should fix that. And then what we want to do is we want to join that to the fabric up here. We'll keep and join.
Okay.
And then right here is where we want to do our links. So we want to link our points to common points in the fabric. Okay, that one doesn't like it for some reason. 1 second. Sometimes if it doesn't like it when you're doing it that way, you can just do a direct
Drag and drop.
link. Go back to this one, see why it doesn't like. Oh, that's because there was 2 there, I believe. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And then this one we can just.
Are these extra points? That's just something that we're going to slowly but surely going to have to clean up. Not knowing why they're there. Maybe angle points.
Yeah. So that warped it, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Remove that last one. And then try to auto join. Or we could come over here and also try this corner. And if the residual is too high there, which as you see, we just remove that. Then we just try to auto join and see if it'll snap. So that was a little off, just a little bit. So these residuals, some of these residuals, they're still low, but it's still off. So when we join the final join, it should link it to these points. All the residuals are relatively low.
And this process has been simplified greatly in the new Parcel Fabric.
Yes, it has.
The one in ArcGIS Pro?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pro's got some nice new features with it. And Pro also did away with radials, which I like, which is nice. So anyway, I will go with join and let that link up to those fabric points. So that's snapped into place. And then from here, obviously you have to go into your attribute table and then we're going to work on something with Task Assistant and some other things. Now, editor tracking, that's another thing that is not enabled.
On your side, Ted, you have enabled editor tracking, correct?
I believe it's enabled, but Parcel Fabric is funky with Python. There's just some things that doesn't quite, like I can't pick a fabric and I can't like loop around it. Like it's a feature data set it's like a feature data set instead of a feature data set. So I have to hard code everything to the specific subfeature, plan, line, polygon, etc. I believe I got it enabled on the version database.
Okay, we didn't test it yet on your site. So when we actually go on your machine and we'll start testing editing there, then that's when we'll let you know if it's not working. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have call support, log an issue with Esri to say, hey, this is ridiculous. I should be able to loop through a Parcel Fabric and be able to loop through and print out because once I could print it out, then I could then assign stuff to it. And it's just not built into the product.
Yeah. So with the lines, we can save edits. We have a few more items we want to go through as well. I'm going to stop editing here and just save for now. There were a few more items.
We do have that showing up in the history, right? Or we may have to.
That was a new plan and a new parcel,
Okay.
so it shouldn't have any history associated with it.
Got it. Okay.
Since we didn't merge anything from an existing plan. Yeah, so that was a brand new plan, almost like we're going to build a new subdivision. Yeah. So.
Okay, so let's go and check this. So we had questions, and that's why we made a note there. Basically, the first one, task 345, this is the functionalities coming from your requirements. The one example that we showed is meets and bounds required. That note was there because on that plan we didn't notice like a table of meets and bounds, but of course they were written down on the plan.
We do get the closure reports for all the lots also. That's something that we have. So we will have a boundary closure in our files.
Okay.
If you want a copy of those, I could probably get you a copy of the closures for that.
That would be great. Yeah. So that, I mean, is that something you would refer to when you are inputting the tract in there, or?
We usually use the bearings.
Okay.
Bearings and distances on the map.
Okay, so that's
because they will match.
Okay. Okay. The next one. Yeah, go ahead, Ash.
Thanks. So we already did the merge, and those are automatically marked historic since we're merging two existing plans.
Yeah. So the parcel attributes is the reason why we put like 3-star, 2 stars for the attributes is that it is important for us to figure out what we talked about APNs, when parcels get merged or they get subdivided, then we have new APNs. And so now we said, okay, everything's going to be the same except the last 3 digits will turn to 999 for those new parcels resulting from this, or any new parcels that get created. But when you do the split and merge, what attributes would you like to, like, let's say, combine or keep same? Or so one, you pick up one of the, when you merge 2 parcels, you pick up the attributes of one of them. Okay, there are some automatic attributes that get calculated, like some areas and all, they automatically get summed up. Okay, so are there any attributes that, and we want to make sure that that's going on correctly as well. So I don't know if you looked at it during your geodatabase design stage, for the split policy and merge policy and those kind of things, but if it's already been handled, or is that something that you need to do, like look at the attributes and say which one's going to be remaining the same, which one's going to be changing, which one's going to be like new? Is that
I don't,
something that you?
I don't think when we do some kind of merge or we do some kind of lot line adjustment, especially in a lot line adjustment situation, if we're adjusting a line, let's say 5 feet to the south, then both lots are going to be maintaining their historical value. Besides, they're going to be called out as the lot line adjustment that changed the line. So there's a possibility that both need to be keeping some kind of attributes.
Right. So Cash, can you show us an example? Can you go to the ArcMap
Merge.
again? And let's take a look, just to look at the attributes. Let's not even need to do a merge right now. I just want to
Okay.
look at the attributes listing for the parcels.
Sure. Just like you wanted me to identify?
Yeah,
So
it should
obviously
be.
a lot line adjustment is going to change the APN number. The book's
Mhm.
going to stay the same. The lots, the assessor's lot's going to change. The assessor's page is not going to change.
So when you say that the lot is going to change, will that be the 999 or?
That assessor lot number 14 is going to go to 999.
Okay. Okay.
Because
So even the lot line adjustments will result in.
Yeah. Any changes, because it's going to get a new tax ID. Because the taxes are going to change because it's the amount of square footage is no longer the same.
So lot line adjustments will result in APN change to both, because usually
To both, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
When we come in, let's say we're going to take 5 feet of right of way off the front of these parcels. When we take that 5 feet of right of way, that's going to change the assessor's parcel number too.
Okay. Any kind of changes.
Change to the lot size or shape is going to initiate a APN change.
Okay. Any changes to lot size or shape will result in APN changes.
Okay.
Now, how about any other attributes?
See, as I'm looking down that list, feature reference that's not important to us is cut by TRA. No, joined. Last editor.
There are some.
That's gonna.
Right.
That's gonna be whoever was the editor.
Mm-hmm.
And last updated, that's gonna change because it's gonna go to whoever did the.
Right. So let me say something. On the editor tracking fields, you don't need to worry. It's going to be automatically handled. Anyone who edits the data, it gets populated with that one. What I'm talking about is, and there are some object IDs and things like that the software automatically maintains. So automatic attributes you shouldn't worry about, but something like, any kind of area or any other attributes that you might see there, that need to be.
Once the lot line adjustment or lot merger or consolidation or subdivision has happened, all of that becomes null and void it becomes historic, which is fine. The only thing that we would be concerned about is the address, because the APN is going to change. The address may or may not change.
Okay.
You know, all of that stuff at the bottom of that list.
Right.
It's not.
And it's not all completely filled either, right? You have the like
Yeah, there's a
things
lot
like
of
PLS section.
there's a lot of gaps.
Do we have a
Because
lot of
some of them may,
Do we have a lot
there-
of Williamson Act parcels?
a lot of what?
You have a lot of Williamson Act parcels?
Planning keeps a category of those.
Interesting. It's a
Yeah,
dense
it's a
site.
planning issue. They're the ones
Yeah.
that have expressed interest in the past.
Yeah, so once they become a Williams Act parcel, we get a description that we have to approve, but it doesn't necessarily change the dimensions of the lot. It's just, it's because of the age. So it just that's what it changes.
So you take note of it, but it's not really.
Yeah, it
doesn't
changes
impact
the
your-
category, right? It changes the category of it, but that's about it. And we don't necessarily have the
Yeah,
authority to
it's-
change it.
Affects the taxes, but and you guys just flag it as it's in the Williamson Act. You actually don't track the process for when it moves out of the Williamson Act.
Exactly. No.
So it's the non-renewals, anything like that. You don't do
Right.
anything. Okay.
No, that's a planning function.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have something like a data dictionary for this these attributes? What I'm trying to come up with is like I know you have some description given there, like if somebody new were to join the team or were to start editing, would they know what to fill in which field or something like that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Do you have a spreadsheet that says how to fill in each of those fields there?
Oh, okay. So let's say I'm looking at their like record of survey. See, some of those won't apply because they're not going to be from a record of survey. They're going to be from a track map, let's say.
See down a little bit further, you got track number. That's missing.
Like the map book and page.
Township
Right.
and range, that could possibly be figured out.
Right. So it would either be
Street
like a
names, I
track
think.
map, parcel map.
So a
There is
couple of
data that should be in there, but that just didn't come. That Academy didn't relate to that parcel.
Okay. There are automatic ways of populating the data. Like for example, you have a map book number and you have a map book grid. You can assign it automatically from the map book grid without you having to manually type in the number. So we're trying to see, okay, how much of those can be done versus like there are some fields that you want to make sure that the editors always populate or make sure it's filled in before you save and you close your session for the day. We would like to place reminders for those, like highlight some fields. So that's why we're asking you these questions on the attributes.
Now, if we went into Academy right now and we did a metro scan on one of these lots, it would tell us what lot it was and what map book it was from, and the description most likely.
That's helpful. So
Okay. So let's assume that we give you a spreadsheet and we can mark fields as something that needs to be filled by the editor or something that can be automatically populated and how we plan to get that done. Okay. Would you be able to like go over those attributes and then clarify for us if our assumptions are correct?
Okay.
Okay. That's what we'll do then. We'll send you a spreadsheet of this data so that you can take a look.
And we should just be able to take the MXD that you guys have already created for us that should map to the GIS edit dev database, and then we can go through the data that way. And you're only talking about the parcel fabric data. You're not talking about everything in cadastral reference, or are those?
They are down there, and we are planning to. Before we go any further, we have a lot of like document linking items, and I know that that's still in the works. We're going to be talking about that in about a week, I think, right? So there's 2 more items regarding workflows for Cadastral, that task number 348 and 349. So I think that's coming up in a week or so, right, Ted?
Well, let's hope. I mean, last I know they were still loading the images or the documents, so I'm going to reach out to John right now.
Okay. The next one we want to talk about is annotations, and there is something interesting that happens when you edit your data with annotations. Cash, would you like to show? And I'm sorry if I know we are kind of running over time. Does anybody have to leave like right now, right away, or
No.
you're okay with continuing for a few more minutes?
I'm okay with
fine.
a couple more
For
minutes. I
another
got to split at about 2:25.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So
So
let's take a look at annotations. Yeah, turn them on. Turn on the annotations, and let's split a parcel and show what happens.
from the cadastral reference. So let me turn on parcel fabric annotations.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we start editing. Let's say we want to do a merge or a split. Merge is faster. We'll just do a quick merge. You'll
Okay.
notice that, yeah. These
So what you
annotations.
go ahead,
duplicate.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 sets of
the-
annotations.
The anno, if I recall, the anno was done via non-feature linked annotation, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's why you're seeing the problem that you're seeing.
Yes. So like what is happening is if you go open up that layer cache, open up the attribute table for those parcel dimensions. Yeah, open up the attribute table. And then if you go to the bottom of the list, you will find, like if you were to select the 133.04 annotation that's sitting there with the select tool, we see a lot of feature IDs filled actually, which is kind of interesting. I thought that they were all blank. So feature ID is the field that links the parcels to the text. Okay, so let me actually, I know, Cash, can you select that 133.044 annotation with the selection tool?
Sure. So that is either this one. Let's see. That's going to be the.
No, just the annotations. I just want to
Oh,
focus
just
on
the
the
annotation.
annotation.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Use the other one. Use the other tool, which is the selection tool up here, on your toolbar. Yeah, you can use that.
I was just using standard. You mean like the.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, not that one, but the other one. The where you see the duplicates, 133.044. You see the one down here?
Oh,
Yeah.
you want me to select
Yeah,
that one?
those
Sorry.
2. Yeah. Okay. So now in that parcel dimensions table, let's see only the selected records. Okay. So you see, highlight the one. So you see there are 2 of them there, right? So 907,900, that's the feature ID field, and that's the new annotation that got created. The one with feature ID null, I believe, is previously existing in your data. So you have feature linked annotations. This is a feature linked annotation class. There is a relationship that is existing between these. Even though the links haven't been populated between the parcels and the annotations, but still you have the relationship class. And because of the relationship class, it automatically created the new annotation where you see the feature ID 907,900. Okay. So you have 2 options at this point. One option is you can fix these feature IDs beforehand which may be a difficult task to do. The second option is as you keep editing your parcels, this will keep on happening and you go and delete the one that's got the null in there, just that one, and that way you're cleaning up your data. Okay, you can delete the highlighted then, and then you'll be done here in this case. Does that make sense? So these are the two options you have.
Yeah.
Does it make sense how your annotations are behaving? Okay.
Yep.
So Cash, can you remove the selection, like in the parcel dimension, show everything, not just the selected in the
Sure.
table?
But documents are still uploading, just so an FYI.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, all the 907 ones are the new edits that we have been doing. But if you actually sort it by ascending order, you'll find that a lot of them are blank, I would say. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess our question for you is, what's your preference? Would you want to fix all those annotations, or as you keep on editing your parcels, you'll get the new ones and get rid of the old ones? Because sometimes you could have a little bit of custom ones, like I see some L equals to and then R equals to, and I'm not sure if that's the way the annotation expression is built in yet, but we can check, but I don't think that's the case. So you may want to then link those specialized ones and get rid of something that's simpler and automatically generated.
Okay, so when you're seeing the L equals and the R equals, there you're looking at arcs.
Yeah, can you go to one of those annotations there, Cash, which says L equals in the table, or the first one on the top? Yeah, R equals. Go to that record. Yeah. So you do have arcs there. That's kind of given there, right? So you have that. So we don't know. We can check your annotation expression. So if you open catalog and you can check the expression on the parcel dimensions, we can find out if it's based on a little bit more complexity, or is it just based on an attribute value. Okay. So Cash, can you go to the catalog?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
We'll have to check what kind of expression is there. If there is an expression already for the arcs, then you're good. If it isn't, and it may be really hard to do that, and the reason is that this is related to parcel dimensions. So okay, so let's go to that annotation feature class, which is parcel dimensions, which is in Cadastral.
I think it's actually.
I think it would be. No, is that in the parcel fabric itself? Sorry. I think it's
Yeah.
in the parcel fabric itself.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so go to parcel dimension and give a right click, and then let's see what kind of, go to properties. And then go to annotation. Okay, there's expression, sorry. There's the expression down there. Can you click on that expression button? Yeah, see, the only thing that we see there is distance. And then it has the feet, right? Distance ampersand feet. So it's only telling you the distance. Distance
Yeah.
from where? If you from which feature class? If you cancel this out, we will see in the relationships, and it is actually to the parcel line. Okay, so it's only giving you the distance. It's not considering whether it's an arc or line, and you can automate that also, but it takes a little bit of effort. I'll have to check with Lata on this. It's a schema. It would be a schema change, but then also, would you know on the parcel fabric lines itself which one is an arc versus which one is a line? So that's the thing, that if we know that, then it's possible to, automate that a little bit.
Yeah,
But
if we can go back to the arc map and see where that R value is coming from, which attribute, then we can automate it.
yeah, okay. So I know that in CADME you were typing in all of these manually, right?
Actually, we had a tool, and you just it was an arc, so just you had a choice whether you wanted to dimension the arc radius, the arc length, and so you click on that tool and you click on the line, and it'll just do it. I'll click on the arc, let's say, and then you were able to dimension the arc length or the arc radius.
Okay. Cash, can you identify the line that's right below the R? Yeah, identify that line.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, the black line?
Not the black
No,
line.
the red one.
The red
There
one,
you go.
hello.
Yeah, so that actually is actually two lines there, right? One on this
Correct.
side and one on that side.
Correct.
And its distance is actually it's
Arc length is 85.668.
yeah, but this R, where is the R value stored here? R equals.
Keep going down. Okay, it's gonna be right there. Our record
Okay,
radius.
Okay, got it. Record radius is 1964.333,
but there must be a flat one. There has to be a flat radius.
Okay, one more field. Somewhere else.
See where it says radius right there, 1964.33. So there has to be another one that's flat. I don't know why that one.
Can you sort
There's
by
a
value?
record. Yeah, because there's a record radius, and then there's the calculated one. Because I think what we're seeing here is the calculated radius. When it stretches and it makes it fit, it's saying that it's the radius on there is 1964.333, but the record should be 1966. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, somewhere it's got to be, otherwise we cannot replicate it in annotation. I mean, we can build an expression to do it, provided all of them will be following the same thing, like every 19th, I mean, by a certain factor. But if it is a recorded value, it needs to come from an attribute. And if that attribute isn't here, then it's really going to be a little bit tough, both on your side for the on the data side for the attribute, and then for showing us as annotation. One fine day somebody will edit that arc, it will automatically change it. That annotation may stay there unless somebody deletes it by mistake. So it's something you need to look at. Where is this 1966 coming from? That's really something that we need to make sure. And then the same thing with those L values are probably okay, right? Can you zoom out a little bit? Cash, you might find an L value right next.
Here's one.
Okay.
8554.
That one.
Yeah, see, okay, so you see the record right there. It says record arc length is 85.668, and yet
it's like a distance. I'm sorry, which attribute are you talking about?
just right above the radius, it says record distance is 85.662.
Yes,
and then
I see
there's
that.
a record arc length 85.668.
In the identify, yes.
Right.
Okay. But that 1966 is something I mean, I could be off, but can you identify the one line about 2034? Identify, please.
Oh, sorry.
Not that one. the one about 2034.
Oh,
Going to
yeah.
there you go,
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. We just want to see if this is like all over, or is it just one location that may be a small mistake there. Yeah, I see the record radius to be 2034.657. So maybe that's just one isolated case. Maybe you are, or would you have expected that exact number 2034 in any of the fields?
No, I think what's happening is that when we start, and this is something that happens by when they do the least squares adjustment, and this is what Cadme does. So you enter a distance between 2 points, and you can do a line, right? Let's say if you're traversing a line and then or a curve, let's say, with the radius, and you're inputting all the record distance, and then you're saying, oh, I'm missing the closing point by, let's say, 200ths. So what it does is that it adjusts it to the point, the ending point, and it stretches or compresses the line, and it's giving you true values, where the record is supposed to be 2034, that radius, but in reality it's doing 2034.657, let's say.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm actually wondering where that 2034, do you have it recorded in any field here or not yet, maybe? And that's okay.
It has to be there, and that's what I'm kind of thinking, like it has to be there, because you have to show the record to the measured. And that's what in Cadme it does both. Like if I click on a line, it gives me both.
Maybe it's on. So when you identified there, if you drill down and Cash, you were just identifying the topmost layer. Can you say maybe all layers and see if we're maybe missing another layer there that might have that information? The same location previously, 2034. Yeah, exactly there. So here we have parcels, but that may not have that information, right? If you went to that, the tax parcels.
Go to the map book, the top map book, the one that says 180.
Gotcha.
There you go. Let's look at that. Okay, so that one's just capturing the record. This is where the line came from. So go down. I'm sorry. Okay, scroll down on the next screen down. The one that says location.
Which one?
Now to the right. To the right, and then just see where's all the nulls are at. Where it says accuracy, APN, assessor's book, and it's all null. Okay, on that screen, go all the way. Scroll down.
Oh, down there, yeah.
Right there.
In the details of the attributes.
There you go. Okay, slow down. Okay, go up a little bit, because this is giving us when things happen. Yeah, I couldn't tell you why those values are not populated, because we're getting both.
Okay, it may be something for you to look at. For now, you have the annotations. If it is important and it's not come through, somehow you have to figure out, okay, where it was in Cadme versus where it has to be right now. But if it were an attribute like the 2034 or 2000, exactly the numbers that you see there are an attribute, then we can possibly build an expression or automation that will give you the feature linking there. And you can still have those R and L annotations as part of your feature linked annotations. Otherwise, right now, if somebody were to go and do anything to that parcel, it's going to just give you the distance of that's the distance attribute that's shown on the line. It will not do that L equals or R equals, those kind of things. Okay.
Okay, so just do an 85.54, let's say, without the L equals.
Yeah, it's just the length, the distance, attribute. Yeah.
It would just be a length. Okay.
So we could go through the least squares adjustments in the near future as well, so that I can show you the difference in or process in ArcMap for the least squares adjustments. So that way you'll be familiar with those as well in ArcMap.
Okay.
for the parcel fabric.
So are you saying to use the least squares adjustment?
Sometimes you'll need to, like you did in Cadme. I mean, it's occasionally necessary. So I think it should go into the training. I know it was part of the Cadme documentation. So
Yeah. So, but so that's okay. This is good. I'm actually more of an LSA pusher, but but these two, you guys, you want to speak to the LSA, Doug and Neswin, because you guys, because the points potentially move.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing a legal description that's meets and bounds, where the bearings and distances hold, and we're holding, let's say, 2 points, a beginning and ending, and it's going to do a least squares adjustment because it's not going to hit exactly right, then that's just what it is.
It's
yeah,
better for us to do more of a rotate, translate, and scale, and then holding the hold on the whole rotation, translate, and scale, or the least squares, is that you have to hold the radius, and although the length of the arc is going to get shorter or longer, the radius is supposed to stay the same. And so let's say the first part is you got 2 legs and an arc, and each one of them is going to get a proportional longer or shorter, but the hold has to be that the radius stays at 300 feet. You can't do a rotate, translate, and scale and have that take the radius and make the radius 299.99. That's what we're not looking for.
Yeah, so like in actuality, what Cadme was doing was that even though we were inputting this line using all the record data, it was telling us, okay, you missed it, right, by a couple hundredths, and then you say, do a least squares adjustment, and then it would adjust everything so that it does close, and it would keep both the record data so that you're able to look at the record data, and it would annotate from the record data, but the lines that were on Cadme were actually a little bigger or a little bit smaller. And you would have both the calculated and the record.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got a 2:30 meeting that I got to split off to.
We can set that up that way as well.
Okay, that would be good, because that's what really happens. That's the reality of this. We're having to match between 2 existing parcels, and one guy measures a line, let's say that's 100 feet, and then some other guy comes in and he measures it 100.05. So just a little bit longer, right? So then that least squares adjustment, now we have to show both. Like, let's say when we hit the annotation, we have to show what the record is, even though the line may really be 0.05 longer, but the record's really on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So Cash, can we go back to the PowerPoint for a second? So we talked about this. If we know where where we can get the R values and L values. Well, L is mostly there. I think it's the R values. Then that'll be good for us to, see if it is possible to. Then we can suggest a schema change, that you can change the expression this way so that you can get the L, the distance and the radius at rest. Okay. The next one that we're looking at, I think annotations after annotations. What's the next slide? We talked about those already. We talked about, okay, let's go to the cadastral data real quickly. And then there's these redundancies and references and things like that. Okay, so cadastral data, we see here the layers here. We have a little bit of redundancy here, correct? And I'm talking about the lot lines. And what is your plan like between like parcel fabric and what's in the cadastral data set? How do those two relate, and how do you want to like maintain? Because I know that the editors are going to be are going to be editing the parcel fabric, but if the same layer, I think it's the lots really without the lot info line and those other things there.
I think that's a test question, right?
No,
Just wanted.
it's not necessarily a TED question, but what's your question again?
So the lot info line that you see there, actually, if we go back to the MXD,
Yep.
okay, and can you turn on the cadastral on there? And
I
then,
would imagine there's probably some duplication in here because Patrick just kind of created this. You know, it was just something that he pushed. It literally got dropped 2 days before we were supposed to approve the data. So, and he added like a gazillion feature link annotations everywhere. So I would imagine there's, and we did end up with 3 city POI data sets. So it's very likely there are duplicate data sets in here.
exactly, that's what I was wondering. What is the plan to maintain, or going forward? Like, for example, we know that parcel fabric, and I know that even on the water side, when we try to map to the base map layers, we got the cadastral parcel fabric itself in the background. So we were wondering why you have the additional lot info, you have the track map point, parcel map point. I mean, maybe not those points itself, but we noticed some layers, especially the line.
So the point data sets are kept because the document linking is all tied to the points.
Okay, so all of the document linking is tied only to those points and not to the parcels themselves.
Yeah,
Correct.
the reality is they should be, in my opinion, part of the polygon, not the point, but the points were probably kept because of, probably in a lot of cases, the points were kept because of the current system, and Academy has them on the point level, not the polygon. But in the new world, we should just put them on the polygons, in my opinion. But I imagine that's where a lot of the points are kept. But that's what parcel map point, track mark, legal document, lot info point. A lot of that stuff is all because of that. Some of this stuff to me should actually not even be in cadastral, but should be in the reference data set. Rancher should be in reference. PLSS section should be in reference. City limits should be in reference.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they're not editing it, then it should go into reference. If they're going to edit it, it should stay in the cadastral. Yeah, we should almost have the cadastral team poke through all this stuff and say, hey, what are you going to edit? That's what we've done with everybody else. What are you going to maintain? What do you want to maintain? What do you not want to maintain? What do you think you shouldn't maintain? And then reorganize cadastral reference, cadastral, and then of course we have the fabric.
I think it is a good idea. This is the time for you to do that right now before they start editing. Am I correct? Or
yeah, I agree. I think this comes back to the way this was designed was that the converter converted all the data into a feature data set called Cadastral.
Okay.
And then he took cadastral data, and that cadastral data became the parcel fabric.
Right.
Like I think I seem to recall that we could build topology with parcel fabric and other data sets. Is that correct, Cash?
That is correct. We can create additional topologies and separate data sets.
We could do a topology where we have this polygon needs to align with this parcel fabric polygon. If the parcel fabric is in the same feature data set as the other polygon.
Correct.
And in the case where they got the way Patrick set this up, he put them in 3 different feature data sets. To me, we should have 2. We should have a cadastral feature data set and a cadastral reference feature data set, and simplify it rather than have 3 where you just have, I almost think that it would be good to have the cadastral guys go through and see what they're going to maintain, what they're not going to maintain, and then have you guys poke around and say, hey, this is what we recommend you doing and what you don't recommend.
Okay. I mean, I think, do you have a spreadsheet to begin with of all the feature classes and everything? You do have one, right?
Do we?
Yeah, I just want to see if, I'm just saying a list of things because, well, either way, we need to know.
I'll look to see if they sent us an Excel spreadsheet, but it literally everything got dropped like water, like what we're seeing with switches on electric. The guy that did water, the guy that did electric was the guy that did fabric. So he had the 2 most difficult groups, and they both got dropped around 2 days of each other. so that we could hit our due date. And so I could see that there's some stuff that may have been left around because he was intending to remove everything from Cadastral so that it didn't, so it made sense. If it was going to go in a Fabric, we don't need it in two different places. But I can see him actually forgetting or failing to do it. So there's a likelihood that that there's some duplication here.
Right. Redundant data, like in two places and all, you should make the determination right now. Removing data that's not going to be, like putting it into the reference layers instead of having them in the cadastral, that should be done at this point. But anything else, like for example, the tie points, I'm sorry, not the tie points, but the points that link to the documents, that can be we can only give you any information on that after we see how the document linking is going to work. We're not sure at this point. So we can, talk more about that when we get that information on the document linking points. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so I think if you're doing this sooner than later, could we get this like squared away? Because we are in the process of putting all of this in the document, and yeah, even our MXD cannot be really finalized. We actually put this.
Yeah, you're right. So can we do this, Ezra and Doug?
Do what?
Poke around all the data and say, hey, I want to maintain this in the Fabric. This is already in the Fabric. Let's go ahead and keep it there. Let's remove it from here. These are data sets that we're never going to edit. You're never going to edit Ranchos, right?
No.
You're never going to probably edit PLSS. So if they're that, then does it make sense to keep them in the Cadastral feature data set? Let's move them to Cadastral reference. Any data sets that you're never ever going to edit, let's put in the Cadastral reference. Any data sets that's got Cadastral reference, we don't actually have to version. And if we version it, the display is faster across the board, especially on our child replicas.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I agree with that because we're not touching it at all.
Can you poke around and look at these three feature data sets and say, this is data sets that we maintain, or poke around the Fabric and say, oh, let's kind of start to iron out because I've been doing this all along. I just haven't touched Cadastral. I've been doing this, and I'm running into problems because Somas is now building map services. So I'm having to go after hours, shut off their service so I can come in and modify things because the design isn't done. I mean, we literally have 3 city POI data sets that, 2 or 3 different contractors made copies of. So there's lots of little, and that's just, we're not even talking about domains. I got like 9 enableds. I got 9 enabled fields in all the data. It's going to take us a year to get through all our domains. So if you guys could poke around those 3 specific featured data sets and identify which ones, because I'll start moving them. Let's move them now. And the other thing is, which are the ones that we need feature linked annotation? If we're not going to do, if we're not going to edit the data, then we don't necessarily need feature linked annotation for the layers. We just break the feature linked annotation and we just keep the annotation, because at that point the annotation is just reference. But I mean, just walk around and tell us, how you want it.
Okay, we'll do.
You got to look now. This is all part of Cadastral reference, parcel Fabric annotations. Is this all inside the MXD that you guys have put out in the on the from DCSE folder?
Yes.
Okay.
The symbology may vary there and a few more things, but yeah, pretty much everything that's on those 3 feature data sets is in the MXD.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the PowerPoint real quickly. I think we had one more item to look at. Cache. Can
you look too?
Yeah. So here. or no, we just did that one. So we go to,
Yeah, we just did that one. Actually, go back to cadastral data. One more thing. Let's make sure we touch everything. Okay, references, of course, will not be edited, I'm assuming, right?
Say it again.
The
Yeah, yeah.
cadastral references feature data set is
Yeah,
not
that's-
meant for editing.
Yeah,
Okay, we
so
saw.
we
Mhm.
have like county parcels in there, and we got San Bernardino parcels. We don't really want to have a version data set where we're going to be doing reloads of the data, because it's just a lot of overhead that we got to deal with. So ideally, anything that goes in reference will not be edited.
Correct.
Okay, there was editor tracking fields in there, so that's why we were curious. So.
Well, we added for editor, we added editor tracking fields across the board on everything, just so they got to the point where it was just, okay, go ahead, run a bunch of tools, add editor tracking on everything. Other than going in and saying, oh, here's the 700 coverages. These are the 335 layers we want editor tracking. These are the 226 we don't want it. Oh, and these other ones we may or may not want it. It was easier just to come in and say blanket, just editor tracking across everything, rather than just or nothing at that point, right? We wanted to have it, so we just had them add it to everything.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we didn't miss, something that was supposed to be edited. Now we know it's only for reference. The spatial relationships. Okay, we noticed a lot of nice attribute relationships, like to the tables and everything, like street center lines was related to the master streets table, and those kind of relationships were already there in your data. But the topology, of course, as you had already mentioned, it needs to be set up. Okay,
Yeah.
and that could be like if you looked at your easements and all. I think the rules may best come from the users, which I think when Eswin and Doug look at the layers there, they can tell us. I mean, I can come up with rules based on like generally what happens, but if you have something very specific, like for example, we know that easements should be within the parcels, right? Or tracts.
Yeah, but I also think what we need to do is we need to copy the parcel fabric into the cadastral feature data set.
Keep it all is one under
Keep
one.
it all in one single feature data set, and then everything can participate in the. We only need one topology, and the one topology will build all the relationships between everything.
Okay, that's something that needs to be tested out, right? We may have to do that, test it out, and then if that works, then I mean that's something you can do on dev environment if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, like cadastral addresses need to fall inside the parcel polygon. The parcel polygon being part of the parcel fabric. We don't want to have a separate polygon that maintain points inside the polygon. We want to use the points from addresses inside the parcel fabric. But we can't do a topology between parcel fabric feature data set and cadastral feature data set. So we would need to have the two feature data sets be merged together.
Okay, I see you yeah, because you have to have them in the same
I'm
data
not saying
set.
to do extravagant, extensive. I think because we have the parcel fabric, we don't have to do the rule where the parcel polys need to follow the parcel lines, and the parcel lines need to follow the parcel polys, because that all should be captured as part of the parcel fabric.
Correct. That rules are not necessary.
Need to fall within.
Right. It's for the easements, deeds, and the other layers in cadastral and in relation to the parcels.
That's right.
And the street center lines. And okay, we wanted to go to the last slide then. Okay, the question here is on this topology. Do you have a framework of rules already that you were using in the past, or is that something new that needs to be established here?
Yeah, it was never. I can send Doug and Eswin the topology poster.
Okay.
But they're not going to be familiar with topology because they're coming right from the coverage world.
Okay.
And it's never something we've ever done here at the city.
Okay. Would it be okay then we send you a list of topology rules and then you can build up on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, the hope would be that's where we would start. Is you guys would look at it and say, okay, well, we think this should be there. We think this should be there. The only thing I know is that just points need to be in the polygons. I mean, I know more if we didn't have the fabric, but we have the fabric, so it takes care of a lot of that.
Okay. One thing we wanted to show you was something I think it's a little bit curious we found is that the right-of-way center line isn't always like completely right of, is it supposed to have two different things in there? That's what we were wondering. Like for example, if you look at that layer in the bottom, whether you see the cul-de-sac, it goes around the cul-de-sac and then sometimes it's at the center line. So we were not sure, you know, what this layer is supposed to contain.
Okay, I could answer that one. I think what's going on is the differences between a public right of way is going to go around the outside of it. And what you guys are looking at right there is a private subdivision. So that being a private subdivision, the street it's private, so it gets taxed differently, and so it has its own assessor's number, even though it's a street, because the association takes care of it.
Okay.
It's not a so it's not a public street. That's why you're seeing the line work go around the cul-de-sac.
Got it. So that's still a polygon layer, and it's going to go around. So it's actually a layer that's formed from the street's center lines, but it's a polygon layer. And if it's a private street, then it will not go through, but it will go around, right? That's the correct.
Right. You're gonna have, like, let's say, like right now you would have a private street center line and a private street polygon, I would think. Right?
Okay.
Because okay, so right there, look, if you look at the picture on the northeast portion of the map, you see the public. There you go. See, there's a public cul-de-sac, and it goes around the right-of-way, right? And that's exactly the opposite of the private area, where it acts like that private cul-de-sac is acting like a normal lot, like a residential lot, let's say.
Like, why didn't that just be like a line type on the line data set and make the line data set just private right of way or public right of way? So when you have the private right of way, you could symbolize private right of ways on. Does that make sense? I mean, that's just the way we had it at the county. So
yeah, and that's exactly the way we have it now. That's the difference, where you just look at it and automatically you know, oh, that's public and that's private.
Right. If you see the magenta lines through the center of the street, then it's public. If you were to see on the edge of it, then that's and there's no, the center lines don't have that magenta line, then those are private streets.
I guess what I'm confused about is the big purple line and why it.
Okay, those are center lines, and they almost appear to be.
They're actually polygons, and the part
are they
of your,
polygons?
Yeah, that's your parcel layer, actually, right? Cash.
It came from the parcels. Yeah, so
we categorize them. See the group there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we made one for history. We took the parcels and represented them in different ways.
The fabric.
Yeah, so it came from this parcel feature class. So all of these are just the same feature class as the parcels, just broken apart by their coded values.
Right.
And now I put this on top just for visibility, but it's part of the parcels feature class in the fabric. Yeah.
Right. And what's the attribute you defined them by? Can you go to the definition query and show us?
Sure. Type 5.
Yeah, type.
Okay, can you zoom out for 1 second? I want to see what the one that's going across. Okay, that's a railroad. That's where it's right away. You kind of see that?
Yeah.
I just don't understand why the bigger parcel ones are still on the right of way when that's more like old track line.
Yeah, that's what they look like, is a document line or track line or something.
Yeah, because I could see the freeway right away, and that's fine. And then I see some center lines, but then the old those purple lines going along property lines, that doesn't make sense at all.
Can you identify the polygons?
Sure.
Which one you would like us to identify?
The
The one that doesn't look right. I don't know how to say
Yeah, I
it. But
see some individual parcels that are actually called out.
Yeah,
Okay,
like-
so see, like right there, see that RS? That's
Uh-huh.
that's a record of survey. So that would be like a map boundary line, not necessarily a right of way. So I'm not sure why they came in under the right of way center line layer.
Yeah. Well, so type equals.
You see how it's
I wonder if
Looks like they
the
got
definition query. Can you check the definition query again, please?
Sure.
It says type equals 5. Can you go to query builder? Look for type values and say get unique values on the type. Yeah, click there and okay, I'm
Wait.
sorry. I think there must be this.
Record of survey.
Yeah, sorry. Make that to 6
Yeah, we should be able to just
and
calculate.
apply now.
Oh,
Okay,
much better.
now that's better.
There
Okay,
we go.
sorry.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's why I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Now it makes total sense.
What have you been doing?
Yay.
Okay,
Much better.
we're okay now.
Yeah, we're good.
you would have scored it. You would have basically scared a lot of homeowners with that previous policy.
Yeah, I was like, huh?
Oh man, thank you.
Okay, I
Right.
think we have a list of action items to be done, right? At the end of this is that we will send you a list of topology rules, that's DCSE, and then the cadastral editors and TED. I think your team would be going and reorganizing or identifying which ones you will be, restructuring the data sets and everything, right? Putting the parcel fabric inside the cadastral, and then looking for any redundant layers and maybe moving some to references, those kind of things, correct?
Yeah, I think that's something that we should do. We should put it. We should simplify it to 2, and remove redundancy and see what's going to be edited, what's not going to be edited, what's ever not going to be edited. It goes into reference.
Right. Okay. So let's get started with these items, because the sooner you can complete your restructuring or moving the layers around, the better it is, because right now, I mean, there is an MXD there and Adam has copied it already onto the server. Adam, did you also post it to that folder on video recordings,
It's
the
there,
shared
yeah,
location?
from
Okay.
DCSE, yeah.
Okay, so it's in the from DCSE folder, Ted, if you want to maybe even give it to the editors, but you'll have to map it, because once we give it to them, they'll have to point to their own OS authenticated connection. Okay.
So where's it at then?
It's in the from DCSE folder.
Yeah,
Adam, are you connected to their system right now?
I'm going there now. It says I should see. Oh, I can see Cadastral.
Okay,
got
good.
it.
Okay, yeah, you may have to point or repair the data source once
Okay,
they get.
all right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then once I do that, that's when it's done. I'll send you guys the path, and if you guys can try to get this done by ASAP, but like by Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we'll
Okay.
look at it too. Ken, you're going to look at it as well, and we'll probably have to push off the aerials, building that, because this probably takes more precedence than this. Honestly, I think editing is way more important than making web services, but at least at this
Yes,
juncture.
I agree.
And it's the parcels, which is the most important data set. So, okay, so I'm good.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for your time. I'm sorry we ran over.